Hi, my name is Morgan Vaughan. This is Facts at 5. It is Friday, April 10th, 2020, and I am here once again with Chrissy Sampson from the East Hampton Star.
Hello.
Hello, Chrissy. Thank you for being here. This marks week 2 with you. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's start with our ultra-local news.
So it's actually kind of a nice story today that we're leading with, in that the Ladies Village Improvement Society in East Hampton is coming together and organizing a massive mask-making mission.
Say that 3 times fast.
A massive mask-making mission. I can't do it.
Okay.
But the goal is to make 800 masks per day for East Hampton healthcare workers, first responders, and essential personnel. Masks will have the MERV 13 filters, washable, reusable.
Wow.
What they're looking for those who know how to sew well and who have a sewing machine, but if you don't, you can still help out. You can be a cutter. You can cut the fabric according to the patterns. You can be a driver, driving the masks and materials to the necessary locations, or you can man the phones. You can be the one calling people, seeing who needs help. Calling people to see what organizations might be available to help and where they have to go. So and they're also seeking donations of elastic, cotton, 100% cotton fabric, ribbon, and money to purchase mask filter material that hasn't already been donated.
Oh, excellent.
So, we'll have the information at the end on a slide, but you can contact Alyssa Meyer, 631-907-0844, or email ehcovid19masks@gmail.com to help out with the LVIS effort.
That's fantastic. I love this story. And I love that, 800 masks per day, that's crazy. That's an amazing goal. Awesome for them.
And I think they'll be able to do it. LVIS is one of the oldest and most well-respected and strongest organizations in East Hampton.
Yep. And everybody, we all have some cloth and fabric lying around that is probably pretty good for it. I understand the woven fabric is the best, like your quilting fabric, etc. So definitely do it. Awesome. Okay, Suffolk County statistics.
So it's been a tough 24 hours in Suffolk County. We are up to 20,320 confirmed cases at this time. This is as of this afternoon, 2:30 p.m. Last night, unfortunately, 52 people died, and now our fatality count is up to 414 in basically a month.
Yeah.
And it's hard to have to look at that. It's hard to imagine what they're going through, and to be sick. And it's a staggering and difficult time to be in the news as well, looking at this every day.
Yeah.
We have an increase in hospitalizations. 1,642 patients are currently in the hospital in Suffolk County. That's actually up 47, though in the intensive care units, there's actually a slight decrease of 8 patients down to 523 in the ICU. And that ICU statistic is, we hope that trend continues, but the thing that's important to note is just several weeks ago, there were 300 ICU beds countywide. Now we see that there's, a much higher capacity in that care level.
There's 223 beds more than we had.
Right. And part of that is that, the governor has had this initiative to relocate ventilators and equipment from around the state to high-need areas. So a couple days ago, Suffolk County received 136 ventilators from elsewhere.
Oh, wow.
I don't have a breakdown of where those ventilators were distributed to. We have several hospitals in Suffolk County, but, that's just indicative of we're all in this together kind of sentiment that the governor is really promoting, and that we should really be feeling as well.
And Suffolk County is being hard hit in New York.
Absolutely.
State.
Suffolk County Executive Steve Bellone has really been making the circuit on the news shows and radio shows, talking about how we are, we're right up there. First it was Westchester, then it was New York City, but now it's Long Island in terms of cases per 1,000.
So we need to stick the course.
Right.
We need to stay home.
In East Hampton, we're seeing cases increase in East Hampton. We're up to 84 confirmed now in East Hampton. 272 in Southampton,
Wow.
5 on Shelter Island, 189 in Riverhead, and 233 in Southold.
Wow.
So the numbers are still ticking upward.
Speaking of that, there was an article in the Times today that was about new federal projections that show that a spike of infections could take place if orders are lifted in 30 days. And so there might be, this report says, if we lift the, say April 30th, which was, I think the date was that it was extended, right?
It was extended to April 29th, but then, that implies that April 30th we'd be up and running again.
Right.
But
That is
shall see.
clearly not going to be the case, and that these, if we lift the restrictions as much as we all want them to be lifted, and a lot of people want them to be lifted, because we want to be out and we want our lives back, we would lead to a dramatic increase in infection and maybe just end up back in the same place. So I think it's really super incredibly important to listen to the experts on this. And if they say to keep sheltering, we need to keep sheltering. It's not going to look like it did before March 9th. It is not going to look like that on May 1st. And I think we all sort of need to get a grasp of that. We're not going to all of a sudden be able to go to the grocery store and sneeze everywhere. It's just not going to be happening.
who was sneezing everywhere in the first place? I mean, maybe
Some
that's
people
how
were.
we got started on this pandemic.
But it's sobering because you want it to think that, on April 30th, it's just going to be like everybody just goes back to work and it's all the same. It's not going to happen. Hasn't happened in China, hasn't happened anywhere. They have tons of restrictions in China still, even though they're celebrating that it's all over. You're still only half you are going to work at this, this time and that time. So a little bit sobering, but we have a couple fun, great, need to know things. One is that it is Easter weekend. It is Passover, started Wednesday night. There are Easter worship services at almost every church online, virtually. But I did not list them because I do not want to leave anybody out. So you should go to your place of worship and you should look up and see what kind of service they're having, or check out somebody else, but definitely be a part of that, because the churches have been going and doing amazing things with trying to get people involved and to celebrate this enormous holiday as Passover is being celebrated at the Jewish Center with these seders and the virtual seders and everything.
One of the things that you can really, a lot of times people look to their faith to bring them through times of difficulty and trouble. So, maybe that's one thing you can do, not only to celebrate Eastover,
see? Perfect.
Okay. Easter and Passover, but also to just look for some solace right now in what we're going through.
Yeah, definitely. On a fun note about that also, and I think this is an amazing idea and I kind of want to do it, Dance Papers is having a virtual Easter egg hunt. It starts at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, which is Saturday morning. So this is a brilliant idea. You have to go to Dance Papers, go to their Facebook, go to their Twitter, go to their Instagram, and go on a virtual Easter egg hunt. I think that sounds really fun, and what a fantastic idea. I wanted to follow up with a question that you had the other day. We were talking about Guildhall's 82nd annual member exhibit. So we were talking about the website. So we looked, and when you go to the website to see the paintings, you were asking, can you see detail? It is beautiful. You can click on the picture and see amazing detail.
Yeah, you roll over the image with your mouse, and it will zoom in for you, and you can't see the texture of a painting, for example, but you can see the minute details that make them special.
It's amazing. What a great job Guildhall did on that. I wanted to follow up on something that we talked about the very first week when Mike and I were doing this, was that the East Hampton school system was going to be supplying hot meals for people. And I just wanted to give a big thumbs up because they have continued to do this. This is their third or fourth week. And now they're actually distributed in other places as well. It's going to be on the crawl, but the breakfast and lunch are available free of charge for all children 18 and younger throughout the duration of the crisis. And the distribution sites are in front of the district office, at the main entrance to the mobile home park, and in front of the Springs Presbyterian Church from 9:30, basically, Monday through Friday, 9:30 to 10:30, and then on Fridays, 3 sets of meals so you can get through Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Amazing. Okay, let's talk about, now we're back to masks.
So a few days ago, the Jesse Warren, who is the mayor of Southampton Village, he's got a lot of energy and has done some really great things for the village. And one of the things he did this week was declare that you must wear masks in grocery stores. So in Southampton Village, you want to go to Stop and Shop, you want to go to Cinderella, wherever you might be heading to shop, you must have a mask.
Now, is that Southampton Village or Southampton Town?
Southampton Village.
Okay, so in Bridgehampton, you can, okay.
Yeah, so the thing, there's a caveat to this. And we learned about this caveat when LTV reached out to East Hampton Village, Mr. Lawler, Mayor Rick Lawler, and he told us he admires that decision and that effort, but that it's not really enforceable because it conflicts with a state ordinance.
Okay.
So, his quote to us was, "I had thought about doing the same thing, but was advised that I, as mayor, cannot supersede the governor's order. I support the idea, but it is unenforceable." So,
Okay.
That's another issue. We have not heard back from Mayor Warren on the extension of that or his response in that it might be unenforceable. But we'll keep you updated.
Well, it certainly is a response in that we want to make sure that this can be contained. And so if this is one way that the public can help, I completely understand the impetus behind it.
I mean, the CDC is recommending it now anyway.
Right.
And what Newsday reported in the last few days is that grocery stores are going to be shifting to one-way aisles.
Which I think is a great idea anyway.
I mean, it'll be, I know we talked about this morning on Media Maidens. The traffic jams everywhere in the grocery stores, even if you're only having 30 people at a time in the IGA.
Right.
It's still, those aisles are very small, and you don't want people coming towards each other when you're shopping.
Right. I've seen the arrows on the floor. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Okay, so in Riverhead, there is a new testing site.
Right. It's a targeted testing site, as County Executive Ballone has called it. Mm-hmm. That means that it is specifically aimed at helping people who are speakers of other languages.
Oh, okay. Excellent.
Mr. Ballone has said on Tuesday, he said that he's had trouble getting the message out to, for instance, the Spanish-speaking community. And so what he did was he opened 3 testing sites through HRH Care.
Okay.
HRH stands for Hudson River Healthcare. They are based up there, but they have regional clinics all over the city in Long Island. They've got one in Southampton Village. That is not going to be a testing site.
Okay.
But their site in Riverhead, technically Riverside,
Okay.
is going to be a targeted testing site. If you do not have full proficiency in English, no matter what your language, you can go there and they will help you have access to the services. You still need an appointment.
And you still need to have symptoms, right?
Right. They're still going to screen you to make sure that, the assistance that they're giving you, is for those with a fever,
Okay.
a persistent cough, shortness of breath, that sort of thing.
Okay.
So, hats off to them. And, that HRH Care is 300 Center Drive South in Riverhead. The GPS will respond to Riverhead.
Okay, excellent. And I have the number at the end, too, 845-553-8030. We don't have that much time, so I'm not going to touch on the subject of the day, which was something that we kind of felt was tales as old as time in terms of that women are suffering more economically from this pandemic, even though early data indicates that the mortality rates are hitting men more, but women hurt more economically because they tend to earn less, blah, blah, blah. So we're not going to talk about that because I don't want to. I don't want that to be the case. I'm sick of hearing about that. I want us to all change that. So do you have anything else to add before this wonderful weekend?
I think that, in the spirit of Easter, we have an interview.
Yes, we have an interview with the fantastic Dell Cullum. Angela LaGreca met with him to talk to him about his new series that is showing on LTV and his wonderful, his just wonderful ability with wild animals and rescue. And he and I have a personal connection because he just tried to rescue a mysterious raccoon from my house that has disappeared. But he is wonderful. The interview is great, and the series is even better. So next, Angela LaGreca and Dell Cullum.
Thank you, Morgan and Chrissy. I am very excited today because we have, I would think, the most local hero for our wildlife, a wildlife expert, and he really is all things wildlife. Can I say wildlife any more times? Dell Cullum, you're the man. You're the person. If there's somebody's got a possum in their attic, but it's not just that. It's you really do an amazing service to the community. And I know that you have this new not-for-profit. Tell people who may not know who you are and what you do about yourself and what you're doing.
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on here. You know, I love LTV and I support them 100%, and they've always supported me. And that's a really good relationship. And that's why I like to produce my educational shows for you guys. And that's what I do. My name is Dell Cullum, and I do all things wildlife out here, from education to removal to rehabilitation to rescue. But I most recently started a new not-for-profit 501c3 organization based around wildlife rescue specifically. Because there was a need for it as the end of our island, which is so narrow in a sense. As we continue to populate, it becomes more or less and less habitat for our wonderful and beautiful and very much abundant wildlife. And that creates issues with humans, impact with each other. Sure. So that's why we step in and.
Right. Now, I'm curious how it works out, obviously, in a time of isolation, and yet the natural habitat is poking its head out now as the warmer weather is coming. And are you still doing calls now? Are you able to still do that?
Absolutely, more than ever, but really mostly removals at this point and less rescue, which is a good thing. Okay, of course, the less rescues that I'm doing is always means that the community is being careful and respecting and appreciating what we have. So that's always a good thing. The removals, on the other hand, it's interesting because of the situation that we're in and the fact that a lot of our summer visitors and summer homeowners came out early. They're detecting things that they normally wouldn't detect until Memorial Day. Yeah. Well, no, more realistically, a hole in their roof, which is the doorway to raccoons and squirrels at this point. So it is the birthing season, and people are noticing it early. Is it good? Is that good for them? Well, yeah, kind of. You're getting the problem taken care of rather than 2 or 3 months down the road. However, it's a problem nonetheless. So, part of our organization is really educating the community on not only how to be careful and more aware of the wildlife, but also how to be more preventative and learn to preventative to keep them from impacting our actual structures, our homes, and learn to live with wildlife rather than find ways to not live with them.
Well, I find you fascinating because I've watched your imagination nature programs again and again. First of all, the way you speak to the animals, you're like, it's like, come here, little guy, come here, little boy, and then sometimes you call a possum a knucklehead. It's so endearing. But you seem so calm. You seem calm. And I have to ask you, have you ever been hurt or endangered? Because you do come in contact with some situations, which I would think, that it might be scary for anyone.
Yeah, well, there have been times, and that's the number one thing that we teach. No matter who teaches rescue, that's really the priority is safety first. Because if you hurt yourself, then you can no longer be helpful to that animal. Right. But look, animals are strong creatures, and the one thing that we have going against us is we can't predict their actions, and they're quick and they're responsive to things that we don't know. So, when we grab them the wrong way or get in the wrong, just like, the old thing, don't get behind a horse and smack it on the butt. It's common sense, but every now and then something happens. A good example is last year I went and rescued a great blue heron. Now, I've done this many times before, but in this instance, and I had safety protection on my eyes because that's one of the more key things you think about when you're rescuing a bird that has a long, sharp beak. And in fact, the bird turned and struck me in the face, and it hit me in the glasses and slid off and cut me on the side of the head. And from there, as many times as I've done it, it took that time when I got a little nip, and it made me think, well, how can I make that not happen again? So now I have glasses that have the wide band. So if it does slide off the glass for any reason, in fact, I like to use the big goggles. That protects the larger portion of the head. It's not as fashionable, but that's what we're not out there for.
I think if you could mass produce those, you should mass produce those right now. You could actually, you could retire early. Yeah.
Whole face things.
What are the most common calls that you get, and how do people reach you? I'm asking you two questions at once. I realize, but I have so much I want to ask you. What's the most common? Would you say is there a most common call you get?
Well, there is, and unfortunately, it's most of the time it has to do with deer and automobile collisions, which we could talk about all day long. So that's subject matter that there's just so many different variables to. But it is one of our biggest calls because there's so many things we've done to impact these animals, whether it be fencing or lack of corridors or keeping them on the roadsides and,
because people think, I think the deer population is so great, but we've really ruined it for them. So they're forced to run into the road half the time, don't you think?
Well. Again, quickly, my theory is the populations aren't any much different than they ever were because they control their population habits. When there's less habitat, as a species, they tend to have less young. They regulate themselves that biologically, but when when we constrict the habitat so quickly and so abruptly, these animals are pushed into small pockets, which makes deer to be in larger quantities. So, when you see one or two deer running around, it doesn't look so bad. But when you see 10 of them together, you say, oh, my God, those three populated so fast. No, you took 10 houses away of their habitat, and now they're forced into living together. And that creates all the other problems as well about them, what they eat and tick issues and all that other stuff. But really, the impact affects them. They get injured. They get caught in fences. They get entangled. If somebody doesn't find them, they literally die and decompose wrapped in fences. They get caught going through gates.
Does somebody, so
sorry.
let's say someone either finds a deer on their property in distress or someone reports a deer. Do they use the app that you created, or how do people let you know, and then what happens?
No. The app is actually for us. The app you could think of as like a fireman's pager.
Okay.
All the rescue responders that are signed on as volunteers use that app as a pager. And when I dispatch your report, you would
and
call
how many people
us.
do you have? Yeah, right.
Well, it depends. It depends what the situation. If you report a deer that needs, is down and needs to be brought to a doctor, we're going to need more than one person to lift that deer. So I'll dispatch 2 or 3 people. If, for a variety of circumstances. But what the public does is they call the 1-844 number, which is 844-SAVE-WILD, SAVWILD, which ends up being 728-9453. So that's 844-728-9453. And I will field that call no matter where I am. I will field the call. I will get all the information necessary. And if I feel we need to dispatch a volunteer 24/7, 365 days a year, we will dispatch somebody to go either observe or rescue and transport, if necessary, that injured or distressed animal.
That's great.
And we have a whole handful of unbelievable volunteers, which incidentally cross volunteer with our other outstanding organization that we're fortunate to have here on the East End, and that's Evelyn Alexander Wildlife Rescue and Rehab Center. Yeah,
they're amazing.
So,
I know.
The wildlife out here really, really, despite all the human impact, all the adversity against them, they sure have their backs being watched by some pretty amazing people and some great organizations.
Yes. And can you tell us about how baby squirrels are doing lately? Or you always have, it's either a possum or baby squirrels that you feed. Do you have them?
I
did not know this. I just guessed it.
I know, and I was going to have Athena, my owl, all ready for you, but she's molting. She's molting in the head again, which makes her look not so pretty.
It's the screech owl. Anyway, I remember speaking to you at the Village Summer Festival. Let me see. Look, who was the name? Do you have a name for this little guy?
No, not yet.
Not Scurry too.
It's still too young, but he's coming along really good. I mean, these guys are the greatest.
How old is that little guy?
These are 3 weeks. Their eyes opened yesterday.
Wow.
So they're doing really good. And we're taking
How is it
that
they trust you? Is it you born with the snack? How did you even get into wildlife? I'm curious. I'm serious.
Well, at this age, they have no choice. They were pulled out of a wall, and Mama was not able to be found. So they trust us because right now we're their mommy. I say we because my wife Dee is an incredible help. I mean, she's really the key to the rehabilitation part of what I do. But they're just, the older ones, they get to trust you because it's just animal instinct. They know who's good and they know who's bad, and they know who's super good and who's out there to help them. And that's why
we know.
That's what I contribute this to. Well, I have a good relationship with these animals. I happen to care a lot about them. I really do.
Yeah. And I know you, and you care about a lot of things. Can we touch briefly on, because I know that the way people have been disposing of garbage in the Hamptons and the East End is despicable. And now with these gloves that everybody's wearing, there's that issue, and the beaches. And I know you've had to postpone not only the benefit that you were doing for your new wildlife organization, the not-for-profit, the comedy benefit you were doing, but now the Earth Day Shoreline. Tell us what's the state of it out there? In terms of
you're right.
Garbage. I don't understand what's the matter with people, but
I haven't figured it out either of all the years I've been doing this, and this would have been the 7th year for the Shoreline Sweep, and I'm really a little bummed out about it. But this is something we can always do, and when this is over. However, The beaches, I'll tell you, the beaches are doing a little better, in my opinion. And rumor has it they're going to take these ridiculous, ugly garbage receptacles off the beaches in the village this summer, which is fantastic news.
Really?
But these gloves, the way people are disposing of these latex gloves, which
It's unbelievable.
ironically, we're wearing these gloves to protect ourselves, yet we're destroying our planet. It doesn't make any sense. But it never
No.
did make any sense. And quite frankly, I think if there was an answer, I would have probably figured out at least part of it by now. And I haven't even scratched the surface. So I kind of laid back on it. It was kind of driving me crazy. My head was hurting from banging it against the wall, as you can imagine. But here we are now, and fortunately, I'm not as, I don't let it upset me as much as I did then, because just seeing these gloves on the ground, it just makes me feel like, here it comes again.
Here we go. It's like a bad balloon case almost, the same thing. Yeah. Well, but we're hoping that where people were searching, in this time of quarantine and why is this happening and all this, and sometimes there are actually decent quotes that say, we're just guests here on this planet. But I don't know if how long they hold on to that for. Do we have to be quarantined for a year? I'm not sure. I don't think we will be.
I don't know. I don't know, but I'll tell you, here's a suggestion. Let's take some of this time that we have to sit home and reflect and kind of try to reflect on some of the more wiser choices that we actually can make environmentally and for our wildlife and ultimately for ourselves, because nature is life, and without nature there is no life. And we depend on it. We need it. So we need to respect it, and we need to care for it a little bit better.
Yes. And your new show, I just want to talk about it quickly because it's so well shot, produced. It's called Wildlife Rescue. No, it's really well done. I love the music in it. I love what you have to say. I love the animal stuff. I mean, obviously animal stuff, all of it. But it's you have 2 episodes done. It's going to be airing on LTV again, or because I know you.
Yes,
I think so.
The plan was. Yeah, the plan was I made 5 episodes of this series called Wildlife Rescue. It's all it was going to be, 5 episodes, and I was hoping prior to this issue, this coronavirus issue, was to spread the series throughout the spring and summer for everyone, as not only educational but to promote the nonprofit and all the wildlife nonprofits here on the East End, and show what we do and kind of highlight some of these volunteers that are just awesome.
Yeah.
And in the interim, I've realized that, maybe now would be a good opportunity to share this with people who are home and wondering what to do and things. So I kind of jumped the gun on it. I don't feel bad about it. I have other ideas up my sleeve for other films and specials planned for you guys at LTV. I always like to keep my plate full when it comes to material for you guys.
Well, we appreciate it, and we love you, Dell, and the community needs you, obviously, and I'm so glad that you were here. Yes, and I hope that people do reach out. I mean, obviously, everybody is in need these days, but what you do is so part of what keeps our planet and our place in the East End that amazing, I think. And like you say, wildlife matters, and that is what you're doing. Yes, so if people can contribute to that cause. Yeah. So the Wildlife Rescue of East Hampton, and that will have a benefit at some point. What? Say it again. The wildlife.
Well, you had it right. Wildlife Rescue of East Hampton. Yet the website is WROEH.org. Wildlife Rescue of East Hampton.org.
We'll put just the letters. We'll put that. We'll put that in the phone number up at the end.
Awesome.
And yeah. We got it. And thank you for joining us at Facts at 5, Dell. And we'll see you at LTV. We will see you at LTV.
Angela, thank you.
Yeah, it's great.
Thank you, and thank everybody there. I love you all. You're great. You're great people. I support you all 100% for everything you do, and just the friendship and that we've created over the years. But most importantly, what you do for the community. It's just unbelievable. Hats off
Honored.
to you guys.
And my daughter is reading your Scurry the Squirrel book, which is so great. Which I got this summer for
Well, we're working
on
number three. Number three.
Good.
Okay.
Keep it coming.
All right.
Thank you, Dell.
Thank you, Angela. Bye-bye.